All right, everybody, welcome back to the Protestant Education channel. And today we're doing something a little bit different. We are taking a viewer question. So let me clarify off the bat by saying I don't have an inbox or anything around it. I take viewer questions. I try to read every comment. I don't always read every comment. Sometimes I have other stuff going on. And I thought that this question asked would make a really interesting video. And I really wanted to look into it. I kind of want to start out, let's read the comment first. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself in my script here. So, our comment says, "Hi, Protestant Education. This question is specifically for you, though anyone can answer. I was a Methodist kiddo, now elderly and Episcopalian, was Baptist for a couple of decades in between. I have recently been introduced to the concept of theosis in a specifically Anglican form, and although the term is shared with the Orthodox, the little bit of reading I've done sounds like the Methodist idea of sanctification to me. Can you straighten me out? Thanks." I want to kind of start off by saying I don't know for sure. I really hope this video helps. I don't know if it'll, quote, straighten you out, but I can try. But this is just based on, I kind of spent the weekend doing a little bit of research on this topic, and I just wanted to, I guess, throw my hat in the ring and trying to clear up this question for our viewer here. So, I kind of want to start, let me get to this in my script here. Let's start with the Orthodox understanding of theosis. So first of all, let's start with theosis. Theosis is defined quite literally as unity with God. Theo is a root for God-related, and sis tends to be a suffix for union. I don't really know of any usage of sis as a suffix outside of theosis or like ninth grade biology, but it just means union. The Orthodox see theosis as a very rigorous process. That's why they have a heavy emphasis on things like fasting, monasticism. That's where hesychasm comes from, if you're familiar with the Orthodox idea of hesychasm. From a classic Orthodox anecdote about theosis is this quote of God became man so man may become God. That doesn't mean an Orthodox believe in, the Mormon Scientology, you become your own God when you die. It's not all that. It's just a very easy phrase to communicate the quick point of the Greek Orthodox perspective of theosis. Now, barring my own, obviously I'm a Protestant, so I have issues with this interpretation of theosis, but that's not what this video is about. So the Orthodox, it's a very rigorous process for them. Like I said, there is, there's a lot more sacraments than just the baptism. Actually, no, I think that's just Catholics. Let me correct myself here while I'm talking. But they view the entirety of church as that's part of how the whole high church stuff comes from. It's this idea of theosis, and doing all of these bigger things bring you closer to God. At least that's how I understand both the Catholics and the Orthodox to do it. But so like I said, just a lot more of an in-depth process as far as the Orthodox are concerned, where we don't really view theosis as we view it as a long process, but we don't view it as rigorous of a process, if that makes sense. So let's get to the Anglican / Episcopalian perspective. So this is a little hard to suss out, I'll be honest here, because from the Anglican perspective, it's a little more confusing. So let's zoom out for a little bit with broad Protestantism and then zoom back in. Broadly, like I said, Protestants differ from Orthodox on this idea of theosis because we follow a different framework than the Orthodox. The Orthodox tend to follow a what's described as a essence and energies framework. If you watch any Greek Orthodox apologist, this is going to be something that you hear a lot of: the essence, the energies, all of that. And I would say the other reason that it gets a little dicier with Anglicanism specifically outside of Protestantism is that's where we don't agree from a Protestant perspective, not from the Anglican perspective. So Anglicanism has probably within Protestantism the least amount of required doctrines. I say probably because you could make arguments for other traditions, but if you asked me, that's what I would say. Anglicans don't tend to have a lot of required beliefs outside of the Nicene Creed. And while they don't have as rigorous of a system as the Orthodox for theosis, they still think, they still think that theosis is important. Salvation is transformative, and that theosis is a mix of the outward and inward expression of that transformation. So, I just said we because I was getting a little ahead here. So, our comment mentioned Methodist sanctification and said that they saw the two as sounding very similar. That's Anglican theosis and Methodist sanctification. And they are. Just to be perfectly blunt, they are very similar. From my reading and my understanding of John Wesley and my understanding of certain Anglican theologians, I think ultimately the difference is more so in how they talk about theosis as opposed to what theosis is. I think we all agree that, generally speaking, theosis is what I just said. The outward and inward expression of that transformative salvation that we receive upon professing faith. So Methodist sanctification has a lot to do with personal holiness and like helping your neighbor, doing a good turn daily. There's the famous Wesley quote of it's like, do all the good you can at all the times you can, by whatever means you can, and with however many ways you can, at all the times you can. Yeah, it's just about doing good in literally every single possible way. I really should have wrote that quote for the script here, but that's okay. But yeah, being good in every single way you possibly can, and that's part of the Methodist idea of sanctification. Yeah, so that's part of the Methodist idea of sanctification. Sorry, I just cut around a little bit there. Whereas Anglicanism, I'm not going to say that it's not about that, but I think Methodism specifically is very hard to divorce from the social gospel, since it was such a pivotal part of Wesley's idea of the Christian life and just Wesleyanism in general. Theosis, Anglican theosis, as far as I understand it, I think has a lot more to do with seeking that communion in Christ daily. I'm not saying Methodism isn't about that, but I think the Anglican expression of theosis is a lot more about being in communion with Christ, whereas I think the Wesleyan Methodist sanctification doctrine is more of a bringing Christ's kingdom to earth expression of this outward and inward expression of the transformative salvation of the faith in the sacrifice and death of Jesus Christ. I hope that didn't get too confusing. I know kind of in the end there I got a little mixed around, and maybe didn't phrase things the best. But that's my best explanation. And maybe I'm completely wrong. So if anybody in the comments has a correction for what I've said, please leave it down there below. If there are other topics that you want to see me talk about, please leave those in the comments below too. I will be checking them out when I can. Remember to like the video, give this channel a subscribe if you want to see more. That's really the biggest way that you can help the channel. I don't have a Patreon or any like monetary thing yet. I don't know. I was bouncing between the idea because I don't really have a big audience. Even if I did, I don't really know if I want to do that. But if you do want to support the channel, hey, I mean, it's free to subscribe. It's free to leave a like. If you didn't like the video, clicking the dislike button twice will make sure I never show up in your feed again. I promise you. And yeah, with all that, God bless you and your families. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your week, rest of your day. Protestant Education signing off.